Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lilydale Radio. I am Colleen Vanderzijden, the host of this show, Embracing Your Essence, and we are live tonight from Lilydale Assembly in Lilydale, New York. And as you are joining in with me, if you could just give me a comment here, tell me your name, where you're from, for two purposes. One, so I know who's here, but for two, to make sure everything's working correctly. So that would be lovely. So in case you don't know, Lilydale is the largest spiritualist community in the world, and people from all over the world normally come here to study with mediums and other teachers who present workshops here. We have many mediums who do work here to connect us in with our loved ones on the other side, and we have the healing temple, and so many things happen here in the summer. As far as I know, this summer we are opening as somewhat normal, as far as I know. I have no official word on anything. But we do have the program book out, and we do have workshops happening. Some of them are online, some of them are in person, some of them are both. So if you go to lilydaleassembly.org, you can see what's going on, most up-to-date information, and you can also call Lilydale Assembly office to get a copy of the program book if you would like to have a paper copy. Hello, Joanna, nice to see you, and Rachel, Samia, nice to see you. Hi, Leanne, nice to see you guys. So tonight we are going to be talking about accelerating joy, but before I get to that, I do have to do those details. So lilydaleassembly.org. That's where you're going to find things out. Lilydale Assembly Incorporated on Facebook is the official page. That is probably the most up-to-date information. You'll see all the events that are coming as people start adding more and more for the summer program. You'll be able to see everything right there. You can follow me at Colleen Vanderzijden, medium and intuitive life coach, and please do if you haven't yet. And my website, ColleenVanderzijden.com or psychicmediumcolleen.com. Quick link. Both work just as well. So for those of you who are just joining in, this is Lilydale Radio. I am Colleen Vanderzijden. I am a registered medium here at Lilydale. As a medium, I help people connect in with their loved ones on the other side. I am also a certified intuitive life coach. And as an intuitive life coach, I help people look at their lives differently, look at their problems, situations differently, and help them come up with strategies to move forward, whether it's spiritual development or handling an actual problem that is challenging them. So that's what I do. And every week I host the show Embracing Your Essence, and it's all about you, what you can do to live your best life. And I am a how-to person, so I always tell you how to get to wherever I'm talking about. So hello again for everybody. Nice to see you here. Hi Ray, hi Deb, Robin, hi Ashley and Joy and Bristol and Julie. Nice to see you all. So as I said, we are going to be talking tonight about accelerating joy. And with that, we are going to be talking also about, related to that, how sometimes our joy is blocked, and what happens is we settle for things or we play it safe. And this tends to happen over time, and it becomes a disempowering action, a disempowering pattern. And this, of course, would limit our capacity for joy. So we are going to talk about how to break free from that disempowering pattern. And I will give you a 3-step process, of course, to release that stagnation and move out of it so that you are not stuck. It's so interesting because we talk about joy so much, and everybody wants to be happy, right? We all want to be happy, and we want to have as much joy as possible. But sometimes we don't even realize we're doing things that are blocking our joy. And something as simple as putting up with something or settling, sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. So I am going to talk about some couple stories for you to share with you. My awareness is being awakened for some of this. Hi, Kathy. Not in a good place. Can't take the stress and stay positive anymore. Whew. Well, I hope this helps you, Rachel. I hope. And hi, Helen. I did a little what if last week for you. So here we go. Oh, one more thing. I am live on both pages, Lilydale Assembly Incorporated and my page. I can see the comments on my page, but not the Lilydale Assembly page. As we are live, I will respond to them after the show concludes. So here we go. This is how I'm going to show you some ways of how I have settled. I was walking up the stairs the other day, and I moved into a new house here in Lilydale. And that was back in October, November. So, and for the 100th time, I noticed the spots on the wall from where the box spring scraped it as the movers were bringing the box spring up the stairs. Every day I've been looking at these scrapes, and every day I would be bothered by them. And I thought they were really deep scratches, and the only way I could fix it was by repainting the wall or touching up the paint. And then I kept noticing it over and over and over, but I did nothing about it. And then the other day, as I walked by them again, all of a sudden this thought popped into my head. And I thought maybe one of those magic sponge things would get that scrape off the wall. So I immediately got one, rubbed it, and lo and behold, the scrapes disappeared. What I had thought was a bigger problem really wasn't. It was so much easier for me to gripe about it than it was to get the facts and then take action. Have you ever put up with something for a really long time and then you get used to it, settling for something that is less than what you want? Maybe even you subconsciously think that you don't deserve more. And what happens when we do this, and we do it in all sorts of situations, what happens when we do this is whatever we're settling with, and it could be something as simple as the scratches on the wall or something even bigger and more profound, we start to believe this is our new normal. It's just the way it is, and we think it's not going to change. And that can apply again to everything and anything. Your inner thought might be, I can put up with it or I'll get to it someday. That someday list, you know. So you ignore it, even though you might still be reacting to it with irritation or frustration. And with this, it becomes that habit. This limits our lives and the amount of joy we can experience. Even with something unimportant like the scrapes on the wall, I kept noticing it and it was blocking my joy. Now, when I walk by, I'm happy to see that they're gone, and I'm reminded about how we can accelerate our joy simply by taking action. And I think about this, and do we want to live our lives settling and putting up with less than ideal situations? Of course, I must say this, there will always be uncontrollable circumstances that we can't change, and we do need to accept them as our normal. But today we are going to be talking about those things you can change, but yet you don't. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. So if you were just joining me, we're going to talk about accelerating joy, getting more of it into your life by breaking the disempowering habits that we have of putting up with things or settling or playing it safe. We're going to talk about those. I'm going to check the comments here before I continue on. Hi, Lori. I don't know, a little baking soda and water goes a long way for scrapes and smudges on the wall. Yes, it really does, doesn't it? And also that mess on the stove, too. I've lived those scrapes on my wall from the same thing, box spring. I never thought of trying a magic eraser. I know, it was just like this intuitive thought popped into my head. And procrastination, the thing is, we start having these ideas. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And maybe we have a lot of ideas and we can't do them all, but we can't get to all of them. So we put something off. And before we know it, we've put it off and put it off and put it off. We kind of get used to it. And then we don't do anything about it, even though it bugs us every time we see it. So I want to talk a little bit more about some of these things you can change, those things that maybe you are too comfortable with. You're just used to seeing it. Maybe you're stuck in a box and you're not ready to risk the change. That would be for bigger situations, of course, maybe a relationship issue or something that might be more challenging to resolve. Maybe you don't want to take the time to deal with it. And whatever it is that you settle for or you put up with, that's just a sign of us playing it safe. And when we play it safe, we are limiting our meaning and the joy that we can have in our lives. If we can get out of those habits and patterns, because that's what they really are, it's a habit. We get stuck there and we just don't think about it. And if we stop putting up with less than what we want, our joy will come back. And what happens is we've forgotten the power we have to go beyond what we're used to. We might not even realize we're stuck. And I'm going to tell you a little story, a personal story about me and my recent understanding. I am still learning to this day, and I will until I'm 150. I love learning, and I love having new awarenesses, and I'd love to share them with you so that maybe you can skip some of the stuff I've done and get to a happier place sooner. So For me, every day for a long time, I wake up stiff and achy all the time. It continues all day long. The achiness is always there. It normally doesn't fade, and it's not typically debilitating or huge or anything like that. And I don't have severe pain, which is really wonderful. But I do have limited mobility in my hands, particularly. And I go about my day and have a great day and all that stuff. And even with the aches and stuff, I just deal with it. It's some kind of arthritis that's been going on for years. I'll have a flare every now and then. I don't take any medication for it. I put up with it and I'll deal with it later, was my plan. Well, my deal with it later finally came to a head, and I had to deal with it now because the reason I went and saw a specialist finally was that it started, this arthritis stuff started to affect my violin playing, and I couldn't get my left hand fingers close enough to play in tune, which is a problem because I am a professional violinist as well. So these fingers on my left hand, they would have to be touching here and like that, and I couldn't get them close enough. This arthritis had already affected my right hand, and I have very limited mobility there. But I could still type and do my writing, and I could still hold my violin bow. So I just kind of put it on the back burner and ignored it, right? So over time, I just adjusted to this, not being able to grip anything, not being very careful about what I do pick up and carry because I might drop it. And so I got used to making these accommodations. So after several doctor visits and various tests and trying out medications, they put me on a certain medication and I didn't like the side effects. And then I decided I would rather live with the occasional flares, even though the medication is supposed to help me by stopping the progression of this stuff. And it would reduce the inflammation so I don't lose more mobility, right? But here's where I settled and got stuck. I felt like it was easier to keep doing what I've always done. It was easier to play it safe. It was easier to go with what I knew than to take a risk or a chance and decide to try to change something. I didn't know yet at that point that I was stuck in a disempowering pattern. I didn't recognize it yet. But then I was talking to the doctor, and all of a sudden I realized that the way I feel is not normal. Most people don't feel like this all day long. And when I thought about that, I was really shocked. I was so used to it because it's been going on for like 20 years, okay? I had normalized it and settled, believing this is the way it is. And I want to make sure it's clear that this story is not to dismiss anyone who is struggling with a chronic physical condition where it may not be solvable as yet or not solvable as far as we know, right? I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing that, okay? I'm just using this story as an illustration of how I became aware that I had settled. So this situation, this arthritis, doesn't particularly bother me. When it does, I just ignore it. So I wasn't complaining. I put it in the back of my mind. I just deal with it later. But as it turns out, I was putting up with it when I actually didn't have to. That there are solutions out there. And it would have been good maybe if I'd taken a little action a little bit sooner, but it's all good. Now, as an aside, because I know many of you know I'm a healer, and I'm convinced, I am absolutely convinced that my healing work, working in the spiritual fields, a mediumship, being a spiritual teacher, I am absolutely convinced that being in that vibration, that energy, has slowed the progression of this. And that's why I don't have severe pain when by all diagnosis, etc., I should, and I don't. I have family members with the same and similar issues, and they are not having the same experience I'm having. And so, another aside, for those of you who think that as a healer or spiritual person that I shouldn't have anything, we live in a physical body. And with that sometimes comes physical issues. It's just the way it is. And I cannot tell you, I'm digressing slightly. I cannot tell you how many times somebody has said to me, well, I live a spiritual life. I cannot believe I'm sick. I can't believe I have this. I can't believe I have that. Don't forget you live in a physical body. It's just the way it is, okay? So don't beat yourself up over things like this, okay? So back to accelerating joy. This, for me, this was an awakening, another awareness for me that I had settled from the scrapes on the wall to settling and putting up with my body issues because I thought they were normal. I've normalized everything. So, how have you settled in something? How have you normalized a situation, feeling like you have to put up with it? And think about something, and everybody I think must have something, right? Think about something where you've settled for less than what you want. Sometimes we believe we have to settle, maybe to keep the peace, okay? It's always your choice, of course. But when you settle, it's limiting your joy. Now, settling is slightly different than moving into acceptance, especially when we are talking about something that is uncontrollable and you cannot change, okay? You're not settling for that. You're moving into acceptance of what is there. Settling is a different energy. Settling is like, ugh, you don't want to be there. There might be, when you settle or you put up with something, you play it safe, there might be another way to move beyond that and be happier. If you're willing to risk it and stop playing it safe, you will accelerate that joy. Only you can decide what's right for you. Okay, there must be many things that come to mind, as Ashley's saying, of where we've settled. We settle when we put up with other people's critical words or disrespectful behavior. Okay, granted, we do have to sometimes accept that that's the way they are. Yes, we're not going to change them. But settling and putting up with is again different than recognizing they are who they are and you can't change them. When you settle, there's an energetic feeling of blah, of not being able to do anything about it. It becomes normal, but not in a good way, okay? There's a fine line here between settling and acceptance. We also settle or put up with a relationship or job for maybe too long because it's comfortable and it's what you know rather than risk it and going for something better. Okay, are you starting to feel the differences here of what settling and putting up with and playing it safe feel like? It's not a real high vibration energy there. It's easier for us to sometimes take that path of least resistance, which is the well worn path of habits and patterns. We just get stuck there. It's easier sometimes to do that. Jill is saying, I've made the best of so many less than ideal situations throughout my life because I didn't believe in myself or think I deserved better. That has improved immensely with much shadow work. Yes, and so many times we do settle for things because we don't believe we deserve better. So we have to work on our inner belief systems. We have to figure out what's blocking us, why we stop ourselves from changing something. Now, the minor inconveniences of the scrape on the wall, the house needs to be painted or picked up, those things are minor. Yes, you can easily take care of those, right? You can easily take action, take care of those. Just moving past your procrastination, just start it. The bigger problems, when we put up with somebody's behavior towards us, we put up with demeaning behavior or disrespectful behavior. We just live with it because maybe we don't believe we deserve better, but we don't have to settle for less than what we want. We never have to settle for less than what we want. We have that power to create the joyful life we want to have. If you're settling, again, you're going to know because it is a lower energy feel. You might have that outright frustration or irritation, but the big way you'll know that you've settled and you're putting up with is you feel resigned. You've resigned yourself. This is just the way it is. So, how do we break this? Stagnation. That's what it is, stagnation. It's like our energy is clumped together and it's not doing anything. We're stuck in it. So, we are going to talk about this. I love to do pattern interrupts. We've been, as I say all the time, programmed and conditioned to act in certain ways, to believe certain things about ourselves and about how life is. We've been taught this. And before you know it, because of this unaware programming, we are living from unaware patterns or habits. So it becomes a habit. So if you can start to recognize some of these places where you're putting up with or you're playing it safe as a habit, it kind of disassociates a little bit with the emotional energy where we get a little bit worked up. We can kind of go, it's just a habit. All we have to do is make an effort to break it. One simple step, and we can break it. And yes, Joanna is saying we are deserving. Yes, we are deserving. We deserve to have everything we want. We deserve to have as much joy as we want. I will go to my grave and beyond talking about creating more joy in our lives. I will. And Ray is saying we need to respect ourselves. We didn't come here in this physical existence to spend our 80 to 100 years beating ourselves up the whole time. Why would we want to do that? That's no fun. We want to have fun. We want to create joy. So when we look at those habits and we think about these habits, I'm going to give you 3 ideas to help you. It's really a 3-step process to help you break free of this. Okay, I've got to get a little drink though. Hold on 2 seconds. Now, if you are just joining in, I will tell you who I am again, and then I will get back to my steps. Colleen Vanderzijden. I'm a medium at Lilydale and an intuitive life coach. This is Lilydale Radio. Woohoo! Lilydale season opens up June, I think it's 24th or 25th. I am taking appointments already, and I know other people are as well. I have several days this summer where I already am booked solid. So if you are planning to come a certain weekend here in physical at Lilydale, you definitely want to make your appointments in advance. Don't show up and think you're going to get an appointment because it's not looking like you will. I think a lot of people are coming because they weren't here last year. So people are coming in the physical here, and that's wonderful and good. All of us, I'm sure, will still continue our Zooms and all that stuff. Okay. Little digression there. So here we go. Our first step to break the stagnation is to become aware. You want to look at your life and ask some questions. Now, for my arthritis issue there, it just popped into my head. I didn't ask myself this stuff. But now I can see how if I had, I might have discovered it a little bit sooner. So some questions to ask yourself. Where are you stuck? The simple ones, okay? It's not really simple because if you think about where you're stuck, you might go, So think about where you might be stuck somewhere in your life. Whether it's something small, something that's just a little irritating, or something big, that you really need to take care of. Ask yourself the question, what are you putting up with? Say, what am I putting up with? My opinion is I think most of us probably put up with a few things, Some of them, as I said, are worth changing and we want to make the choice to change. Some of them are not, So if we're not going to change something, we've got to figure out another way to release the emotion if we're having an emotional reaction, okay? Ask yourself how you've settled. You may already know the answers to this, but you've been denying and ignoring because it's a habit, of course. Maybe you don't want to take action. Maybe you're waiting until later, like I was doing, because it is easier, that path of least resistance. I am not a medication person. I don't like taking medications. And so I ignored it until I had to. This reminded me of how I also ignored the issues I had in a past relationship, where I just hoped the problems would go away. And everything would be okay. I just put up with it. I put up with the disrespectful behavior. I put up with the nastiness. I put up with all sorts of things. I won't get into all that, but I put up with it. And as I was putting up with it, my energy, my positive energy was kind of draining right out of me. And this negatively was impacting like everything. I felt like I couldn't put that smile on my face anymore. It wasn't even possible. So it was affecting my capacity for joy. For both of my situations, whether, the medication thing or the wall or this relationship thing, once I became aware that I was stuck in non-action, that I was in a continual holding pattern. Think about that. Are you in a continual holding pattern? You're just waiting for something to get better, or you're waiting for someday. Ah, waiting, waiting. No, there's a difference between waiting for something to change out here so we can be happier, and there's a difference between patiently realizing that you're integrating a new awareness or something is a different feel again. Don't wait. If you're in a holding pattern, you'll know. I decided, with the arthritis, I'd try a different medication, see what happens. In the past relationship, I decided I had to take some action. I just had to do something because I didn't want to live the rest of my life like this. That's a key question. Do you want to live the rest of your life like this? For the next 40, 50 years, it's not going to change. Next 40, 50 years is going to be this way. Is that what you want? If you're settling, your immediate response will be no. That will tell you right away. Yes, Jill is saying surviving rather than thriving. Right? Right? Survival. Sometimes we have to be in survival mode. Something big comes up. We have to. Sure. Great. But only for a little bit of time. It should not last for 40 or 50 years, or even a whole year might be a little bit much, So we want to thrive. We want to create that life. If you don't want to live the rest of your life exactly the way it is right now, even if it's just one little or one bigger situation, then you're settling. You've got to figure out a way to move on. We're so used to something that we are blinded to alternatives. Sometimes we can't even see them. But by asking these questions, just these simple questions, how are you stuck? What are you putting it up with? How are you settling? Is this how you want to live the rest of your life? Big one. That really motivated me in a past situation to change that one because I didn't want to live it like that for the rest of my life. But asking these questions, you're opening your mind up, you're becoming aware, and you're reclaiming your power so you can choose a different kind of life, a more joyful life. Now, I'm going to talk about if you've lost somebody, because I feel like I should. So if you've lost somebody, and obviously you're going to be in grief for some time, okay? You cannot skip it. Do not skip your grief. You cannot skip it. So you have to process it. You have to integrate it. You're moving into a new reality. There will come a time, normally, where you will start to notice that you're feeling better. If after, well, you'll know by how you feel. If after a certain amount of time you don't feel like you're integrating well, that you're stuck, you're really stuck, I recommend that, yes, you get some counseling. You go to a grief specialist, or you go to somebody who can help you process it further. There is no shame ever in doing anything like that to take care of yourself. I can tell you again, and I've mentioned this previously, but I've never had a spirit come in from the other side and say to me, oh, I hope they're sad for the rest of their physical lives. I want them to be miserable. No spirit has ever said that to me. All I've heard is I want them to be happy. I want them to go and live their lives with as much fun and joy as possible. Time will go by so fast, and before you know it, you'll be back together again. So remember that from that spiritual perspective, from the spirit, okay? One more question you can ask yourself is if you don't like something, what can you do to change it? This is my favorite. It moves me back into self-responsibility. And then when I recognize that I have that power, I have that responsibility to help myself feel better, then I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to say, you know what? The joy is more important to me than staying stuck here. I'm going to do what I have to do to get back into that joy, and I want to go for it. I stop putting up with. I stop doing nothing. I stop settling. When we recognize that the balance can shift, that we can either have the weight to be more on being stuck in something or settling in something, Or we can shift the weight over to wanting the joy and that the joy is more important. When we embrace that idea, then we can take action. It's easier to take action. It helps me stop being comfortable in my limiting, comfortable little box. You know how we get in those boxes sometimes. Then I'm aware. Okay. So the first one is ask yourself some questions. How are you? Become aware of how you could be stuck, where it is. Never judge yourself for this. You want to be curious. You want to find a little problem, just something little to start with so you can play with it a little bit. Then the next thing you want to become aware of is look for your habitual disempowering words. And we want to interrupt that pattern. Disempowering words are those that illustrate our limiting beliefs. We may not recognize them right away as a limiting belief, but if you pay attention to them, you'll know they're disempowering because they're not pleasant. You know, they tell you you can't do something, you don't know how, you're not good enough. They may come across as excuses for yourself or someone else. You might say, I can't fix something. I can't change it. I don't know how. I don't want to. Maybe later. I'll do it then. All of these things, these disempowering words, are a sign of resistance. Okay, we're not looking at what we have and recognizing our ability to move forward. Sometimes we don't speak our truth. You know, that's another way that our disempowering words can pop up. And not speaking our truth. Sometimes it's easier to be quiet, right? But what happens if we don't speak our truth? That means we don't believe in ourselves. We're not trusting ourselves. Yes, sometimes there are times we have to stay a little quiet because of what could happen. I understand that, you know, if you have an abusive person or somebody who's not going to listen to you anyway, sometimes we do have to make that choice. Just don't get stuck in the emotional trap there. If you do get stuck, there's other things you got to do. But if you're not listening to yourself, you're not trusting yourself, you're not speaking your truth, that means you don't think you're worthy. You don't think you deserve to be heard. Because if you're not hearing your own self, then why should anybody else listen to you? So you've got to believe in yourself. Be strong in your belief of who you are. Don't play it safe. Don't play it safe. Take the risk. Now, another phrase for disempowering words that comes up, and you may have used this for those of us who have played it safe in things, it's not that bad, right? Or you'll say, sometimes it's good, there are good days. There are good days. It's not all the time. So it's not that bad. Yeah, we rationalize. That keeps us stuck. Ever do that? I know I have. It's not that bad. So that means you're settling. That means you're playing it safe. You're not risking anything. I know I should shift, but fear stops me. Yes. Fear is huge. Fear is huge. Fear affects everything. Anytime we don't live in our joy, anytime we talk ourselves out of taking action, anytime we catastrophize a situation, anytime we anticipate a certain action, anytime where we move ourselves into fear or we allow the fear to overtake us, our focus is in another place instead of the joy. What happens is when we try to break patterns, what happens, right? Our inner critic steps it up. It's like free for all time. You can't do it. You can't do it. If you do it, this horrible thing is going to happen. It's impossible. There's no way you can figure this out. It's just impossible. Oh, if you do that, that's going to be too painful, and then you're going to suffer for the rest of your life. Or you're going to hurt that person. Oh, a nice person doesn't hurt somebody else. No, you can't do that. So you can't speak your truth because you might offend somebody or you might hurt their feelings or whatever. And, you can't do that because you're a nice person and nice people don't do that. This goes on and on. It'll say things like, you're going to cause too many problems. If you do this, then your whole life is going to fall apart. Don't listen to that voice. Don't listen to that voice. It's a voice of lies. It's a voice of, I don't even know what, just not niceness. It's nasty. It takes your power away. So as soon as you hear that voice popping into your head, it's been there a long time. I was just talking to one of my clients about this the other day. This voice has been in your head for a long time, probably almost as long as you've been alive. So you have to interrupt it. So as soon as you notice that voice, because that is the voice of fear, right? And we have to shift it. As soon as you notice, interrupt it. You're going to pause. Hit that pause button. You're going to take a second. And you're going to say, there it is. I hear that voice. And then you're going to substitute a new thought. It could be something as simple as, no, thank you. I'm expanding my capacity for joy. No, thank you. And repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. It could be, I'm strong in my power. I'm breaking my habits so that I can accelerate my joy. How about that one? That fits very well. I'm open to living the life I deserve. Or make it even shorter. I'm living the life I deserve. Yes. Joanna's saying, stand in your power. Sticky feet. We talked about sticky feet last week. Standing in your power. Staying strong in who you are. And you kind of go where the problems come, but you don't fall over. You keep standing. So those fear-based thoughts, be persistent, be disciplined. As soon as you hear it, stop it. You can do it. Don't do this. And I know some people will do this. You hear the voice says, oh, you just don't know what you're doing. You're too stupid. You can't figure it out. What happens is our mind takes it and runs with it. And before you know it, you've got 4 paragraphs in your head going, telling you how you're so stupid. But as soon as you notice, if you don't catch the first thought and you catch the 50th thought, whichever one it is, you stop and you say, nope, sorry, not going there today. I deserve the best life I can possibly have. I'm creating as much joy as possible. Whatever works for you, and say it over and over and over. Even if you don't believe it, say it over and over. And eventually what you will notice is you will start believing it. You will know in your heart that it is true. It's already in your heart. Your heart already knows it's true. We just have to bypass this brain stuff, that crazy brain up there that's getting in your way. It's already there. But if you say it enough, you're affirming it, affirming it, affirming it, and you will start believing in yourself. So you can do this. So becoming aware of how you're stuck, how you're playing safe, all that stuff, then pay attention to your words. Become aware of those words, then interrupt the disempowering habits that go with it. Interrupt it. Okay. I walk on eggshells with a family member to try and keep the peace. Family means everything, but no matter what I do, I'm on a roller coaster. After Jeremy's passing, I need my family close. Yes, we need to have the people around us who support us. We need to have the people around us who are there for us, and it doesn't mean they have to always be telling us positive things. Just knowing their energy is around us does help. Yeah, it's hard when we have to keep the peace. Sometimes we are in situations where we have to continue to maintain a relationship. So that's when we prepare our energy ahead of time. We prepare it. We know it's going to be tough with these people. So we're going to put up a little boundary in front of ourselves. We talked about that in another show, but we put up a little boundary in front of ourselves so that we don't allow their energy to affect us. We just don't. Okay, we stand strong in our power. Believing in ourselves is fundamental for this. The more we believe in ourselves, the stronger our trust is in ourselves. The less we are knocked over by other people or situations. And when we are, if something really comes along, knocks us down, we get right back up because we know we can do it. We believe in ourselves and we act like it. I do deserve to be treated better. Yes, you do. You do. And so if you feel other people need to treat you better, make sure you're treating yourself the best you possibly can. Self-care, all about it. All about it. Okay, now the next thing, the third thing, and it's a simple little one, of course, is taking the action. We've got to break the disempowering patterns. We've already talked about taking action a bit when I'm saying substitute your words, but once you find those situations, take the action, take a risk, go for it, go after what you want, dream big, stop putting up with less than you want and stop putting up with less than you deserve. I'm going to like bang my fists in a minute here. Don't put up with less than you deserve. Never, never, never. As you get going, Joanna's mentioning boundaries. As you get going and you figure out your boundaries, it really helps. I was actually just editing that chapter in my book today about boundaries. And what I said in my book was that my boundaries have always been vague at best. And frequently I discover my boundaries. I'm better now because I'm more aware, fortunately. I would discover my boundaries after the fact. Well, that's not acceptable. I can't believe they said that to me. I can't believe they did that to me. And so that's fine to do. Establish your boundaries. What is acceptable to you? Figure it out. Know what you want. As you do this and you start to become more aware of how you've settled or you've played it safe, and you become aware of your disempowering words, which reflect your limiting beliefs about who you are and how life works, right? Then you start to figure out how to get past them. Sometimes it's just a matter of making a quick decision and speaking your truth. Who is it? Mel Robbins. She works with self-doubt, and she has a technique which is so simple. It could work for some people, I think. But basically, you know what you need to do. You're having a hard time doing it. You just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and when you get there, you go. At 1, you just blurt it out. You just do whatever you need to do. It works for some people because you just kind of go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blah, and you do it. So that might help for some people who are having a hard time just getting it out there. You know, of course, that the more you delay saying something or doing something out of fear, the harder it becomes to do it. If you look back on your life, you can find other moments that were similar, and you'll also see when you finally took the action, how much better you felt. So remember that by breaking the pattern, you've released your energy and you're no longer stuck. You've done it in the past. Do it sooner than you did before. Do it as soon as possible. Break it, move it, get through it. Just be courageous. Don't let the fear stop you. Be courageous. Courageous means we do it anyway, even with the fear. Okay? Joanna's saying, love me. Yes, right? Maybe I should do a self-love show. I'll think about that and see if Spirit wants me to do that. So we have to believe in ourselves. You want to break the pattern, okay? It does come from awareness. I have a technique I've talked about briefly before. It's called ABC, which kind of covers what I talked about tonight. A is for awareness. You become aware of how you're stuck. You become aware of your words. B is for beliefs. What are your limiting beliefs? What are the beliefs that are stopping you? You don't have the power to change it. You're too scared to move in a new direction. You don't want to take the risk. What's the belief that's stopping you? You're going to hurt somebody's feelings. You know, I'm all for being nice. I'm a perfect people pleaser. I am so good at it. I'm all for being nice. But I've recognized if I don't stand up for myself, if I don't speak my truth, if I don't even acknowledge my truth to myself, I'm not as happy. You've got to stay true to you. Awareness, beliefs. The third one is choice. You have the choice to take the action or not take the action. It's simple. A, B, C. You can remember that. So any situation you have where you are unhappy, where your joy isn't really accelerating and expanding as much as you want, just apply that. A, B, C. What do you need to become aware of? What belief is limiting you? And what choice are you going to make? Not what choice might you make. What choice are you going to make? You're using your power. You're becoming responsible. You're living in your authenticity. And that's all we're supposed to be doing here, is living there. Okay, so I will leave you with one word. Not one word, it's a sentence. Are you going to continue to settle, or are you going to take action and decide to accelerate your joy by breaking those patterns? Break the patterns. I'm telling you, those 2 awarenesses I had this week, just with my walls and that arthritis thing, I was like my whole mind just exploded. And I'm saying to myself, wow, look at this. Here's another awareness. And right away, I was like, I have to talk about this week. I have to tell you because it works. It works. I'm, as you know, a pretty happy person most of the time. But I have my moments. But I'm happy most of the time. And whenever I find an area where I'm disempowered and I am not aware of something, I want to fix it. And it's a game to me. It's all a game to me. I want it because I want, if joy to me, and I will stop talking in a minute, if joy to me is on a scale of 1 to 100, and joy is like the most joyful you could possibly have most of the time, that's where I want to be. I want to be there as much as possible. I would say I'm pretty high right now, in my overall life, not just this moment, but I'm pretty high up there most of the time. I'm feeling like I'm up in the 90s, most of the time. Granted, there are days I get to the 40s, but most of the time I am way up there. And you can too. You can. It all comes from awareness and choosing to be in that space. Okay, here we go. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. I do want to mention the other Lilydale radio shows. Tomorrow, Willa White at 10 o'clock in the morning is having John Holland on her show, Hot Shot Medium. I studied with him a few years ago, so that'll be at 10 o'clock. He's going to talk about mediumship. On Thursday, I did see what Celeste was doing, but now I can't remember. So anyway, Celeste's show is at 10 o'clock. Angie Epps is on Friday at noon, and she's talking about meditation because it's World Meditation Day on Friday. Lily Dale will be live basically all day doing meditations, apparently. I may do one if I can come up with one that I want to do. And who else did I leave out? I feel like I left somebody out. Oh, Sharon. Sharon Hill is on Monday at noon. So those are the other radio shows. Lilydale does open in June 24th, 25th, something like that. So maybe I'll get to see you guys, some of you here. So it will be fun. So I want to thank you all for watching and listening today. If you have some ideas for shows you'd like me to talk about, feel free to let me know. You can just put them in the comments right here or even send me a message if you like. I have quite the list of ideas and but I like to have a list and then Spirit kind of leads me where I need to go anyway. So it's all good. So you guys have a great week and I will talk to you next week. I think that's all. Have a wonderful day. Bye.